Hello, everybody. My name is Brian Engelman,
And I'm Blake Walley.
and today is Thursday, March 16th, the day before St. Patrick's Day, the beginning of March Madness. And by de facto, that means it's also the beginning of the TNAM Food and Drink Group Munch Madness tournament. This year, it's 64 best mixed shots. So, Blake, I fully expect you to participate in this year's festivities. You are watching us and listening to us on the new American media. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us on another intriguing, interesting, entertaining episode of the Agree to Disagree program with the new American media, because the old American media has failed you. Let's jump right into the topics today. Show number one, Blake, would you agree or disagree with the fact that the banks are hiding losses to prevent an economic disaster? Would you agree or disagree with the statement that banks are hiding losses to prevent an economic disaster?
Oh, I agree. It's amazing what they're allowed to get away with these days. They're hiding with their unrealized losses on these huge balance sheets that they have. So
Explain unrealized losses to the
I'm not a
layperson.
financial guy, but I'm just
Then
saying that they
make
found a
something up that
loophole.
sounds wordy and verbose.
They just have like bad stuff on their books, and rather than they're just kind of hiding it as unrealized losses. I don't know exactly how to articulate it. I am not a financial guy by any means, but I can show you. And actually, I'll pull up an article while we're talking, and we'll see if maybe they'll explain some of that. So I'm not trying to do it off
Exactly.
the cuff. Do you know, Brian?
No. I mean, that's exactly what I was getting at, though, is like which financial experts, since we are not they, we are trying to
Yeah.
decipher this. It sure, I sure, something smells rotten in Denmark, man.
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like every story is connected to every other story, and they are putting their fingers in every little hole in the dike that they can. They can't hold back this tsunami that's coming. Like every story is connected to Ukraine, to the Rona, to money laundering, to Epstein, to Chase, to the banking system, to the Federal Reserve. Like it's all connected. I mean, we used to get looked at like we had 7 heads growing out of our shoulder when we try to explain that stuff, but it's like everything is breaking at once. I think it's one of the most awesome times to be alive. It's going to be hectic, but like these things are all just zombies. They're all just they're not functional as they are. They need to be laid down to rest so that we can put something together that makes a lot more sense. So, what do you have here? This
Right.
natural news, yeah?
I just think, the system is so overly complicated. Nobody understands it, and that's why half the reason it's gone is that people don't know how it works, and so they're just continuing to get the wrong people up there that do know how to. Here's out of natural news, and I've heard this from multiple sources here. Banks are hiding at least 620 billion in losses. I've even heard uh, higher than that for some of these derivatives and what have you that they hide things under. So we got a ticking time bomb of financial disasters. So we had the failure of Silicon Valley Bank, just the tip of the iceberg. According to the FDIC, the banking sector is currently sitting on unrealized losses of well over $500 billion that at some point will have to be realized. But when? And the answer right now is nobody knows. But the one thing is for sure, the FDIC, Federal Reserve, Treasury Department are doing everything in their power to plug all the leaks, just like you said, Brian, on this financial Titanic to avoid a contagion event, at least for now. So it's a
I like the
phenomenon.
at least for
Yeah.
now. I like the at least for now part because it's going down, man. It's going down. We're yelling timber. You better move. The banks collapse. Okay, I'll stop doing that. But you get the point. Okay, so how many banks have gone down, and how many? So these banks, the Silicon Valley Bank, they're giving. What was the number? I don't know if you have it committed to memory, but I saw, was it $53 million they funneled into Black Lives Matter, something like that.
Oh, well, there's just a bunch of different corporations, yeah, including Silicon Valley Bank. Yeah, tons of money. I don't know if it was like I want to say it was like 83 billion. That sounds impossible. 83 million or whatever it was. It's just an insane amount of money that all of these corporations, these woke corporations, gave to Black Lives Matter. And it was just staggering. I know I've got it on Twitter, but yeah, what happened to all of that? Did it all go to build up these communities that are disenfranchised?
It
Help
gets
anybody?
taken from one and then it goes to the next, and it's weaponized as a political weapon to just. All of these programs are designed to destroy libertarians, conservatives, constitutionalists. Everything that's failing is all of this woke stuff, and I know that's a story we have in here, because if it's woke, it turns to crap. That's the beautiful phrase that we've had. I don't know. It's become ubiquitous. It seems there's not an industry that isn't touched by this, but I mean, the Sam Bankman-Fried stuff, I mean, that was all the money coming in, then they're funneling it to campaigns, then the campaigns are using it to destroy conservatives, libertarians, constitutionalists, and then it's trying to promote this World War III, and it's like it's all going in the same direction, all of it.
Yeah, and it looks like my audacious number was correct.
Okay.
Yeah, $83 billion from corporations.
Did I say 53 million? Because I meant like 83 billion.
I think you said 53 just from that one bank, but it's a lot. American Express 50 million, Apple 100 million, AT&T 21 million, 90 million from Nike. Bank of America paid 18, Wells Fargo 210. BlackRock
this
paid
is to a couple
810.
of people that bought several homes and employed the brother on, like, it's that radical Marxist over in California. Like it's not even a thing. BLM isn't even a thing. It was like a couple of people that just became billionaires seemingly overnight by pushing racial hatred and division while cities burned.
Oh,
That's
it's
awesome.
it's disgusting. Yeah, all the people that organize that, you think they're good people, and they took the money and ran. Yeah, absolutely. By
Cue
one
Steve
of them,
Miller Band.
yeah, there you go. Take the money and run.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
But not Silicon Valley Bank. I guess it says that this is a retraction here on Breitbart.
Oh, okay.
It said that they did not donate to Black Lives Matter. But
okay, that's an important distinction we do need to know, because what do they say? A rumor can make it around the world 7 times before the truth has a chance to get its pants on. So, I mean, it is important that when we have retractions and corrections, and some people want to try to limit speech. I'm loving the fact that they're having the weaponization trials in Congress right now, because, and I feel like, by the way, on that topic, I think there needs to be a minimum penalty for violating somebody's First Amendment rights. It should be 6 years in prison and 60 trillion, quadrillion dollar, whatever, pick a number. What's the difference? Money printer go burr, money printer go burr.
Yep.
Digitize whatever you want, but I think there needs to be a minimum set of penalties if you infringe on your First Amendment rights to speaking. Social media try to pretend that they're we're not a publisher, we're a platform, but then they publish because they censor content. So anyway, I think there needs to be minimum damages for people who go through this. Speaking out has become difficult these days, but some people say you shouldn't be allowed to speak about the economic disaster, or you shouldn't be allowed to say things that later turn out to be incorrect, and you have to print retractions. Yes, that's part of the conversation of trying to unpack what's fact and what's fiction. When you have Nancy Pelosi lying to us, yes, we got to unpack all of her lies. When you have Fauci lying to us, you got to unpack all of his lies. Go down the list, you got to find it, and to do that, you have to have an open and honest conversation, and you have to be upfront about when you get things wrong, and you have to be allowed to get things wrong. That's the point. So if someone's trying to argue you shouldn't be allowed to discuss this economic disaster because, Blake, you don't have an economic degree, no. I'm going to talk about whatever the hell I feel like talking about. And if anyone wants to listen to me, you need to trust but verify your own information, do your own research, never believe me. And if I do get something wrong, leave it in the comments. Let's continue that conversation, because I may evolve on issues and have more ideas as time goes. But you're never going to learn anything if you're eliminating the conversation. So I think it's uber important, Blake. Okay, that's all I had to say on that topic. Did you have any more points to add on whether or not this that there's an economic albatross ready to devour?
Oh, yeah, the Credit Suisse thing is like a huge pending disaster. They had to borrow $54 billion from the
borrow.
Yeah, from Switzerland National Bank. So they're in trouble. That's one of the biggest institutions. I think they're like 8 or 9 times larger than Silicon Valley Bank. And they've been having issues for a long time, but they also have the similar thing where they're underwater on their bonds, their loans. So if that goes under, that's going to affect Europe really bad, but also it's going to be massive contagion in America as well. So we've got a major, massive banking crisis here in America. I might not be able to articulate all of it and make sense of it, but I know it's a problem. We're all seeing prices go up, and we're seeing banks fail, and we're seeing maybe the people fleeing for other alternatives like Bitcoin or what have you. You're seeing the world perhaps divide or consider the possibility of getting out of the dollar system. So that's really bad for everybody, unless there's good guys making a plan behind the scenes. I don't know. I'd like to believe there is, but in the meantime, and we're still in the midst of the bear market, so I don't know when we get out of it. I'd like to see them just maybe audit the Federal Reserve and create a new banking system, but not holding my breath, because the people that have benefited from this are going to do everything they can to keep it the way it is, but they might not be able to do it forever. So it's collapsing.
They're going to kick the can as far as they can. Yeah. By the way, once again, if we want to keep, I keep going back to this First Amendment thing, but like there really does need to be there needs to be minimum penalties for people that violate the most basic civil rights. I mean, we have championed civil rights since we had a violent and bloody civil war to end slavery since the 60s with, segregation and, different but equal kind of frustrations. I mean, the civil rights violations involved with being able to speak, our First Amendment, it's literally the most important, most sacred, the most sacrosanct thing that we have in America. There needs to be minimum restrictions there because we have to be able to talk about this stuff. But anyway, back to what you were saying a second ago about, pulling money out and these institutions that are really struggling. I'm seeing more reports day after day after day that some of these bank executives, they're transferring mega amounts of money out of there before all the news leaks. How is this money not instantly being seized from these people? Like how in the world could anybody up at a C-suite level position at one of these banks that have mismanaged themselves into oblivion, any money that's been taken out, how is that not instantly reversed? How is that not instantly, no, nope, saw it, we're taking it back immediately. By the way, here are the cuffs. You're going to go to jail for what you just tried to do. You're on trial right now, awaiting trial. Thoughts, Blake, on pilfering of whatever resources are left while they stick the taxpayer with the dime?
No, it's amazing. Yeah, they should. It's too big to fail and too big to jail. And it's breathtaking. These guys, these CEOs can just liquidate all this money weeks before the bank collapses, and then what happens to them? I haven't seen any of these bankers go into jail. I saw Madoff. That was maybe the last one. I don't think anybody really got hurt after 2008. So it just it continues to go on. So they just look out for themselves. They just find a way to take some money off the top, get some bribes, cook the books, and leave the taxpayers there to pay the bill. It's quite a racket. So it might be time to get rid of it and go to Bitcoin. Everybody will have their own money. Then you can't tax everybody. By consent.
I've heard rumblings that the crypto market and what's the guy's name? Satoshi? Is that it?
Oh
Satoshi?
yeah,
I've heard
Satoshi. Yeah,
I've heard that
Nakamoto.
it was Putin in Russia that started it. And that one day all of those numbers and those digitized accounts are going to drop to zero, and it's going to be the biggest.
Well, at some point, it's probably going to be a giant solar flare that's going to take out all of the power on this planet, and all of the crypto and all of the digital stuff. Everything's going to go to zero, and we're going to be back to the Stone Age barter system. Whoever's left.
Some say the end is near. Some say we'll see Armageddon soon. I
Oh,
certainly
I
hope
think
we will.
yeah, I saw something. We were like a couple days ago. We were like, so close to just getting wiped out by a flare because the sun is pretty active right now. As our magnetic field is, the shields are weakening. So if we get hit with a blast, man, it's over.
Heck yeah.
It's well, yeah, maybe welcome to the apocalypse. So
May we live in interesting times. All right, next
well,
story, Blake.
yep.
All right, switching away from economic malfeasance to judicial malfeasance and political malfeasance. Would you agree or disagree, Blake, that the Department of Justice suppressed evidence to convict January 6 attendees? Agree or disagree? DOJ suppressed evidence to convict J6 attendees.
Well, I can agree now after the revelations from Tucker last week, because before that we didn't really know, including apparently some of the defendants that were up there. So there's a lot of shenanigans going on, and it's coming out now. Quite a resistance also as well. Let me see if I can pull up an article on that, or at least I can talk. So I guess Jacob Chansley's lawyers, that's the QAnon shaman, the lawyers have confronted the Department of Justice's claim that it did not suppress the January 6th evidence. They got this poor guy to plead guilty to I guess, felony. So he's 4 or 5 years. So it's pretty disgusting because they're hiding the evidence showing that he was just peacefully walking in, being escorted around by police, not causing problems, and then standing on the Capitol steps telling people to go home. But yeah, they still railroaded him. And then we've got a Trump appointed judge that's allowed the Department of Justice to hide exculpatory evidence from the jury in Proud Boys J6 sedition trial. So that's also problematic. And well, as it comes out, there's a 96-page DC police report uncovered showing the government knew that MAGA was coming on January 6th and entrapped them all. So it is a lot of problems, but at least it's kind of coming to light now. I don't know how this will affect things going forward. Maybe they can call some kind of a mistrial or release these guys and then start persecuting. And we got to start digging for some answers on. Let's see if I can pull up a couple of these articles that I was talking about. Sorry for that effect. But here we go. This is the article I was pulling up on the Epoch Times. So this is pretty serious stuff. This guy's been a political enemy, easy poster boy, and they're making an example of him, but they shouldn't. They withheld evidence. And here's this Trump-appointed judge. And then, of course, we've got this police report, too, showing they knew this was coming. So there's a lot of evidence. There's a lot of things coming out, which is really good news. They even knew Antifa was coming. So they knew there were going to be agitators, everything else. And as we covered on Tuesday, it might have been set up just as a distraction so they couldn't talk about the election issues that they had in 2020. So they needed an emergency to stop the proceedings, and they sure did get one.
And I was listening to a breakdown of what happened, and it kind of I started thinking about the situation a little differently. Because Pence was Pence a good guy, Pence a bad guy, Pence a good guy that turned bad, a bad guy that pretended to be good. He was good then bad, but he was really good. Okay, so what is Pence? He had his role, what is it? As vice president, he's president of the Congress. Is that the fair way to say that, or president of the Senate? Because he's the tie
He
breaking
represents like
vote.
a tiebreaker with the Senate if they get stuck at 50-50.
And
Yeah.
but I'm trying to unpack and remember, is the term that he's president of the Congress. Pelosi's the Speaker of the House, which is different. But the way I was hearing this unpacked was they were getting ready to debate. Look, 7 states. I mean, remember how much Trump was up when somebody gave. Here's a question: did somebody tell all of those swing states to stop counting? If so, who told all of those swing states to stop counting? Trump was up 5, 10, 15, 18%. It was a massive landslide. And then all these swing states just stopped. They stopped reporting. They stopped counting. Why was that? And so they were there trying to figure out, let's talk about it. Let's see if we can trust these electors. Are we going to kick it back to the states and go, look, we can't certify this. We don't have confidence in what's going on. We need to investigate. When the emergency happened, emergency rules took place. Pelosi enacted emergency protocol, and then she took over control of the Congress. And when they reopened, Pence's situation was no longer on the table. He was unable to discuss it further. They were unable to bring back the conversation because that whole not service, but that whole proceeding was suspended. And now when it reopened, it was just Pelosi in charge. So when some people said that Mike Pence didn't have the ability to do anything, it wasn't that he didn't have the ability to kick it back to the states, which, by the way, remember how quickly the Democrats rushed to change that protocol that the vice president could no longer do that. So it's like they were trying to say, no, the vice president has no such authority to question the results. He has to be an instant rubber stamp. And then they instantly changed the rule so that the vice president cannot do what they said Pence couldn't have done. So what I'm getting at, Blake, is that it was kind of presented like Pence didn't do this. He didn't do what he could have done to stop it. Rather, Pelosi threw the emergency, threw the wrench in the gears, ground the system to a halt, and she seized control because of the emergency of the situation that her and Bowser created by declining up to 20,000 National Guard troops to secure that building so they could have that conversation. It was all planned to get Pence from having the power to have that conversation to then ramming through. Nope, we're just going to push this through and approve it and move along. And that's exactly what they did. They put a fence around Washington. They were scared to death that the Patriots were going to come back to evict the people that just staged a coup of the United States. I mean, any thoughts on your understanding of all of that? I know it gets a little convoluted, but the way I heard it described yesterday, it got me thinking of it a little differently.
Yeah, I don't know that because it's never really happened that I know of. But I mean, there's been sort of these interregnum moments where they can't really decide who's entirely in charge. And the way I thought I heard it in the beginning was that he did have some kind of a power to choose the electorates of which states. So if they decided they had a problem with Arizona, they could take the other set of electorates, and that would change things. And there was actually Nancy on film on January 6th talking about that on the phone. She's talking about just getting rid of Arizona, no big deal, then continuing. But yeah, we did see
because there were dueling delegates or something like that, and so it was up to Pence pick these or them. What are the pronouns? These or them, and so it's interesting now. I mean, if the Department of Justice suppressed evidence just to convict J6 attendees, I mean, you have an overturn. Like that stuff has to get overturned, and now you're talking lawsuits. You have once again civil rights violations, wrongful imprisonment, kidnapping, persecution. Like there's all sorts of statutes they could start going after now, right?
There should be when they can turn these things around, but the DC has their own rules. So, but at least we have the House, so I guess technically this could be done, and it should be done in time. And as more of this truth comes out, they're going to be forced to acknowledge it at some point, I would think. And then we can really reset everything that we thought was true that day, or the average person, and really fix this narrative for history, because they have manipulated it quite heavily in their favor to protect themselves.
Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the future controls the past, right? Rage
Yeah.
Against the Machine in 1984. All right. Well, let's move along from this to, I mean, we're basically talking about this subject. Let's discuss one of these states now where 2 years later, there's just as much uproar and probably more distrust or mistrust in the electoral process than ever before. Let's talk about that story, Blake.
All right.
I feel like the volume on that one was a little loud. We might want to turn that down a little for next time. I don't know if you got that, but I got the headphones in, so it was a little louder for me.
I'll see what I can do. Yeah, these are going to take a while for me to doctor them all up again.
Yeah, doctor them up and doctor them down.
Progress.
All right, Blake, do you agree or disagree that the Arizona Supreme Court should hear Kari Lake case? Agree or disagree that the Arizona Supreme Court needs to hear the Kari Lake case?
Well, I agree, because it's easy for me not being in Arizona and not having to deal with the pressure of the resistance from that. I'm sure the court doesn't want anything to do with it.
Why? Why would that's exactly what they're built for. If they can't take on this subject, what good are they?
Yeah, I hear you, but none of these courts wanted to even hear a lot of the evidence from, the problems, the anomalies with the voting. So, and in this case, it seems like Arizona, with their wide open border and the problems that they had in Maricopa County, these judges, it seems like there's a lot of pressure. I don't know. I don't want to say that the cartels are involved, but it seems like the corruption is on a whole new level there. And, we had a whistleblower that came out and spoke, saying that the cartel was involved and that they were helping Hobbs. They wanted to keep the border open, keep the businesses running, business as usual, and that they're like the whole county of our Mesa, the whole city there was basically completely controlled. They've got, there's so much big drug money from the Sinaloa cartel, allegedly. I can't. We have to try to dig into that, but that is a major problem. If there's that much corruption in Arizona, and we've seen some of these the last judge that kind of heard this case between Kari Lake versus Hobbs, I mean, he looked like he was freaked out. So these people are getting threats or something behind the scenes. So it's a sinister thing. So I don't know if they can protect these people. If we had a strong federal government or a FBI that wasn't totally corrupt, they should be able to come in there and do something about that and make sure that we have a fair election. Normally, that's where the United States, we're the good guys. We go into these, oppressed countries by these dictators and make sure that they have fair elections. But now they're just allowed to do whatever. And so you sent me a tweet last night.
I've been in a bit of a tweet storm. Yes, I'm
right.
By the way, we're only 797 follows away from unlocking doors on Twitter to reach 10,000 followers. So please follow us on Twitter at American_media_. Do it now. Do it now.
Yeah, so I'm going to pull up this tweet. Yeah, please follow us on all the alternatives, because YouTube is not playing fair.
Neither is Facebook.
Numbers.
Facebook deleted my company page and has silenced me for 60 days from going live. By the way, as you pull this up, I just wanted to make this point and then get back to this. But if it's a little difficult. Who played in the Super Bowl this year? It was the Kelsey brothers, right?
Yep. Kansas City and Philly.
And Philly. So imagine if Jalen Hurts didn't come out to play. And let's do it the opposite way. Imagine if Patrick Mahomes and let's just say their whole team, Juju Smith-Schuster and Andy Reid, say they didn't go onto the field. They just kind of stayed in the locker room, and 7 o'clock or 9 o'clock comes and the game starts 6 o'clock. I don't know what time the game starts, 6:30. And they're just not there. They're not on the field, and only one team is playing. But they just have a hunch. No. I just got a good feeling about this. second quarter, third quarter. Okay. At the end of the game, you look at the scoreboard and it looks like the Kansas City Chiefs, who never took the field, they won. Oh, they won convincingly. Just, how would you, what a brilliant feat. What a fantastic achievement for these people. They won without even participating. That's what they are spitting in our face with, saying, no, Kari Lake, look, yes, she's probably the most popular political figure outside of Trump, the most charismatic, well-spoken, energetic. She's good. She's one of the better politicians you've seen in the past couple decades. No. She totally lost to the Chiefs, who didn't even take the field. Katie Hobbs refused to debate. She didn't go out there and campaign, just like Joe Biden. He stayed in his basement. They'd have 11 people at an event, and Trump has 100,000. 20,000, 40,000. And it's like, no. See, that's how you win the Super Bowl. You don't play. That's how you win. That totally makes sense. It's like, how fucking dumb do they think we are, dude? I mean, that's the level of absurdity. Sorry, I know you had a tweet pulled up, but I had that thought, and it's like Katie Hobbs never even tried because she knew it was in the bag. She knew that it was just going to happen somehow, so she didn't even need to try. Same with Biden. If that's not a massive red flag, I don't know what is.
Oh, absolutely. And even Good Morning America came out there and interviewed her, and they were like, laughed. They couldn't believe it. Like, she's not going to debate, and she's not going to campaign. And Kari Lake was extremely popular all over the state of Arizona. They wanted it. And then all of a sudden you had there's a tweet out that says 60% of 60 locations in Maricopa County had voting machines that did not work. They were having problems, and they had there was all kinds of different things. And they had this Runbeck place that was supposed to count the ballots, and they're allegedly getting Sinaloa cartel money. I mean, there's some weird things happening, but nobody should. And of course, Secretary of State Katie Hobbs should not be running the election.
No,
for her, she's running for governor. I mean, there's
you
so
have
many
to
red
recuse
flags.
yourself. You cannot be in charge of that. You're participating in the process. You can't be playing power forward for the Milwaukee. But who won the NBA championship last year?
Ooh, that's a good question. Was it Golden State again, or no? It was
it wasn't Golden State.
Milwaukee, no,
because they won it, but not the Raptors.
You should know this one. This is your wheelhouse,
this
right?
Is hilarious. I can't remember.
It's not Milwaukee, and it's not
the Cavs, not the Celtics. I know who it wasn't, but who was it? But the point is, you can't be playing power forward. Please look that up while I talk and finish my point.
I will.
You can't be playing power forward for a team in the NBA Finals and also be a referee with a whistle in your mouth. You're either on the court participating or you're in pinstripes on the side and you're calling the plays. You can't be both, and that's what Katie Hobbs did. How she was allowed to be in charge of that process while a participant, it's just staggering. Did you find it?
Yeah, no, the whole thing was rigged from the beginning, and there's no way you can convince me otherwise, and they won't review anything, and there's no transparency. There's no chain of custody. There's all this mail and drop boxes. They don't verify signatures. They don't canvass. And when people did their own independent canvass, it was confirming the fears going on by the Kari Lake team, but they didn't want to talk about that, so they just discredited that or didn't talk about it. But by the way, it was Golden State.
It was
over
Golden
Boston.
State.
Yeah.
Maybe I blocked that out. Yeah, over the Celtics. Yeah, I blocked that out of my mind. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's weird.
No worries. It's confusing. I don't.
But the other thing about Arizona is that what's coming out, what people are saying and testifying to is that, look, the fact that things were scanning in at the wrong size, this wasn't some sort of accident or glitch. The only way that could have happened is an intentional fraud, intentional deception. I mean, when you hear that, you go, well, okay, if either that's true and you got to redo it all or not. I mean, but you have to investigate it. There's never been less credibility in the United States elections, I don't think, than right now.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, I don't even have any reason to want to go vote in 2024 because I don't feel like there's any transparency or fairness or integrity with the system at all. I don't trust any of it. But that's the way they want it. And so then they're going to have this wide open border. They're going to bring in all these people. They're probably going to vote. If they have transparency, they get rid of machines and they're just going to find voters. They're going to import them illegally.
Well, let's jump to the next topic. It's the exact
yeah.
thing we're talking about. All right. Well, Blake, do you agree or disagree that there is a wall needed at the border ASAP? Agree or disagree? There's a wall needed at the border as soon as possible.
Well, I would say yes in general, although I was critical of that in years past. But yeah, it's not even my opinion anymore. It's actually the Border Patrol chief who testified recently. I've seen some interesting testimony on Capitol Hill, and it's pretty staggering. It's just there's no explanation for it. It doesn't make any sense unless you want to think that there's some darker motives, and that's what it appears to be. So, and actually, let me just pull up an article here.
And while you pull it up, I would say that, yes, I would agree that there is a wall needed at the border ASAP. The only downside to it is that it could trap us inside when things get too bad. That's the only, when the pot is boiling on the stove, you don't want the lid on top. I want to be able to jump out of that boiling water. If I've noticed that I'd like to escape, that's the only reason I don't want a border wall. But if you lock your doors at night, of course you want a bouncer at the front door checking IDs at your nightclub. You have to, or else you're going to get shut down. Like the United States is going to get shut down if we're not taking care of business.
Yeah, it's problematic, and this is one of the things Trump was fighting for. And there's been one of the biggest issues going on between the left and the right. And there's no reason to have an open border. This is not how immigration policy is supposed to work. But they're trying to normalize this.
Well, and don't forget, they want to ban one of the healthiest individuals on earth, Novak Djokovic, from coming into the United States to play tennis. Because he hasn't taken the thing.
Yep.
Millions and millions of people are flooding across the border. Nobody's checking anything. It makes no sense. None of it makes a damn bit of sense, sir. None of it.
Unless you want them to come in as the new voting block and to take over
Democrats.
America. Yeah. So this is the most disturbing thing about this to me. In this testimony here. Is this line right here. On this hearing, the Border Patrol chief testifies the border is not secure and a wall is needed, and not a single Democrat attended the hearing. It just shows you where their motives are. So this is Border Patrol Chief Raul Ortiz contradicted the Biden administration officials by stating that there is a full-on crisis on the border, urging it's not secure, calling for a wall to be built. Of course, you get the DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas have repeatedly claimed that the border is under control, yet that conflicted with the testimony. I'll play a quick clip here. Brian, let me know if you can hear this.
Does DHS have operational control of our entire border?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you for that. I'd like to share it with the American people. This is the actual definition of operational control that is in the code, written into the code well before I came to Congress, the definition, and I appreciate the honesty of Chief Ortiz. Do you think that, let's play a video clip here. I just want to share this question.
Will you testify under oath right now? Do we have operational control, yes or no?
Yes, we do.
And we have operational control of the borders.
Yes, we do.
Who was lying? Who was that?
Chief Ortiz, do you think that Secretary Mayorkas is lying there?
It's a DHS guy.
How is he not in jail? Like, arrest that guy. He's like, that's dereliction of duty. That's the most intentionally disruptive. Arrest him.
Yeah, it probably should. So they've got 385,000 known gotaways who escaped past Border Patrol in the country already this year. So is that 2023? So we got 385,000.
It's all collapsing, Blake.
Yeah.
I'm black-pilled today. We got to get
It's
me out of this. I'm feeling black-pilled.
Yep, and the Ortiz, he says he needs. They're short-staffed, and well, I guess that's the point, right? They want them to be short-staffed, so they could have more people come over. And what is the point? You showed this video the other day. Massive group of 1,000 people just runs through El Paso. Nothing is done. Border wall, that all the pieces, they're just sitting there. It's like buying a big Lego set and then just leaving the box sitting there.
Better yet, well, yes, if the Legos rusted and became unusable. Because that's what's happening. This stuff is getting ruined sitting out there, not connecting the pieces.
Yeah. So
okay, awesome.
it's,
I mean, help. We need to fly our flag upside down as a international sign of distress. Our nation is in peril. We've been taken over by a talk about a cartel.
Yeah.
And my God, nothing these people that are in charge are doing is functional. Nothing. Name one thing this administration is doing that's functional, that's helpful. Come on, one thing. I know. Good luck.
That's a good question, Brian. I honestly have
one spot. There's
got to be
silence,
something.
the definition.
I'm trying to be honest. I'm trying to be intellectually honest.
Fine.
And give one thing.
Then that'll be our question of the day. Type your comments in all the places when you leave it on the podcast, on Rumble. Follow us on Rumble and Twitter and all the places. Name me one area that the U.S. government is providing functional service. One area, one spot where things are functioning. From transportation to national security to global politics to infrastructure to border security to financial stability to transparency to protecting our civil rights. Name me one area that they have operational control, to borrow the phrase. One area that they're getting right. We'll pause it there because I know we only have a moment left. How much time do you have, Blake?
I only have about three minutes.
Okay, here we go. Let's move fast to the next one.
All right.
All right, Blake, agree or disagree with Lindsey Graham? Is he trying to start an apocalyptic conflict? Do you agree or disagree that Lindsey Graham is trying to start an apocalyptic conflict?
Maybe indirectly, yes. I would agree. That is the way that the Russians have phrased that after the collision that they had with the drone. American unarmed drone clipped a Russian jet. And so Lindsey Graham responded like, oh, Ronald Reagan would have started shooting down Russian planes or something. Like, are you crazy? Yeah, it's just, it's an irresponsible escalation of World War III. If that were to happen, if we were to retaliate in some odd fashion, and then Russia's not playing around right now. So as we've noticed in Ukraine, Putin don't play.
I've been reading reports. Who is that lady with the disheveled hair? Is she New Zealand?
Victoria Nuland?
No. She's a good person, not a Disney evil character. Talking about just what's going on in Ukraine, that they're conscripting people into the military and send them up to die on the front lines, like tens of thousands of people are just being annihilated. And you got this puppet Zelensky there with Biden, i.e. Obama, up his backside, parading him around as a proxy. And it's like, they are completely destroying that country. It's sad. It's sad. And it all stems from what happened in 2014 in the overthrow. So yeah, Lindsey Graham, I don't have much time for him. I don't have much use for him. I'm really hoping he could be replaced with somebody consistent and reliable, because he's the opposite of that, and dangerous and reckless when he's at his worst. Final topic, Blake. Here we go. Wait. There we go. I started playing a different clip. And then I had to switch it back. It's interesting because I have to keep clicking these and then I got to get it ready. Okay, this is maybe what we could have done an entire episode on. And maybe we could just kind of tease it, because you got to kind of run out the door, I know, and we didn't have enough time to get things started today. But yeah, do you agree or disagree that woke is the new N-word? Blake, agree or disagree that woke is the new N-word?
Disagree. Totally ridiculous.
Didn't
They're
Huckleberry
trying.
Finn write about woke Jim in that book, Huck Finn or something? What was it? Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn, something like that. Woke Jim. They're gonna rewrite it.
Not that I recall, but wouldn't surprise me as the way that they're going through old books and trying to change the language.
Okay, fair point. Now, who is the guy that came up with this? Is this a guy we saw in 2016? Wasn't he heckle? Am I confusing him with someone else? But he was heckling Alex Jones down at the waterfront, and he had the bullhorn. Who was the Who was the guy
No,
that said this? Who am I
that
confusing him with?
was that was Eric something.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Who's this guy? Who said
Torre.
this?
Torre. He's like a agitator for like he used to be on MSNBC.
Not Maj Toure. He's a gun guy.
No, Torre is like his first name, like Torre Nesbitt or something.
Okay.
He's like the next Al Sharpton type. He's just
Okay.
constantly race. That's all he talks about is just racial issues, agitation. And he was on MSNBC at the height of their, woke social justice warrior stuff. So he's trying to.
So do you have the story? Like, what did he say exactly? He said that
You were the one that sent it to me, but I will pull this up here. Just give me one. I don't have a minute, but I will try to pull this up here. This is out of the Daily Caller. And let me.
Yeah, I know. Blake's right. I can't be expected to keep track of all my wheelings and dealings. I've been more active on Twitter because it's permission to speak freely. Granted. All right, great. I'll spend a little time on Twitter now since Facebook and YouTube are trash.
Right.
Hooray! I'll go for it. But yeah, I saw this, and former MSNBC host calls woke the new N-word. I recognize that guy's face. What's his deal? How does he elaborate on that? Does he have anything else to add to the conversation?
Yeah, he's probably just offended because people keep ripping on him for that. So now they're trying to just take that word away. So he says, at this point, woke is a slur. Torrey Neblett, a journalist who co-hosted the MSNBC show The Cycle, the way the right uses it as an undercover way of saying those people or non-white people. It's a polite way of saying the N-word, but in this case, the N-word includes blacks, LGBT folks, and other marginalized groups.
Aren't the most annoying people in the woke movement the people who have, and I do pity them a little bit because they've been so indoctrinated to hate who they are. It's the woke white people that are the worst. The men and women of the woke world. They are so self-deprecating and sniveling and cowardly, and they've been groomed to hate themselves and to hate who they are, what their skin is, and what they look like, and common sense. Like I feel bad for them. It's like they've been bit by the zombie, and they're just a host. They're just they're no longer autonomous. They're being controlled, and anything woke, that's their deal.
Yeah, it's sad, but that's the way he is. He's just kind of a narcissistic personality who's just always trying to, just to stir things up, but it's always for something negative. There's nothing positive that ever comes from this guy. So,
that's emblematic of our schooling system as well, that has really been indoctrinating people to hate themselves and to take on these woke ideologies that are just they're so weird and aggressive and backward and destructive.
All right, Brian, I'm going to be late, buddy. See you later. Have a good one. All right, guys.
All right, we're going to wrap up the show for now. I feel like we could discuss that for pretty much in its entirety. We could probably do a couple hours on that one topic. I think the woke agenda is completely collapsing under the transparency of really trying to play out. All right, well, what do you really mean by that? Okay, so I hear what you're saying. That first thing sounds interesting. Let's drill down on that a little bit. Well, we've had a couple of years of drilling down where they've kind of been the loudest shrieking voices in the room, and everything they touch turns to crap, and people don't want to be around them. And like I said, this isn't I'm trying to combine thoughts here. Many of the most what phrase am I trying to say? Point is, some of the worst people in the woke movement look like Blake and I. It's pretty awful. Yeah, if they don't like the fact that woke is being used against them, stop being woke. Stop trying to cram your agenda, your radical Marxist ideology down everybody's throats every second of each day. Yeah, people are repelling against it. People are resisting this movement because it's not wanted. It's not appreciated. It's not helpful. It's not improving anything. So it needs to stop. That's it. The one good thing that's come from all of this craziness over the past several years is we've kind of got to see them take their Scooby-Doo mask off at the end of the episode. Aha! And they look at us and say, we would have got away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling kids. Well, that's what we're here for. The new American media, because the old American media has failed. TNAM, because the news always matters. We appreciate you for checking out today's episode. We want you to follow us on, I guess, YouTube while they still have us up there. YouTube.com/The New American Media. On Twitter, we're at American_media_. Be sure to follow Blake. He's at TV's Blake Walley on Twitter. And yeah, so we're on Patreon. Look up The New American Media. We're on podcasts now. We've been putting our podcasts out. It's on Spotify for podcasters. A Rumble channel, Rumble account. Follow us over there. We need some love in some of these alternate universes. Truth Social, haven't really got any traction over there. Haven't figured that out yet. But yeah, that's what we got for today. A quick show, just trying to get the most important points in there, just kind of what people are talking about, give you an idea of what's going on. Leave us comments below where you agree, where you disagree, and maybe if you think we've missed some context, put it in there. We'd love to hear from you. So I appreciate Blake for joining us today on his way out the door, running, probably a couple minutes late. But we appreciate him as always, and we appreciate you watching. Signing out, I'm Brian Engelman for the New American Media. Appreciate you, love you, and we'll talk again soon. Take care. Peace.